It's now time for The Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
I tell you, man, somebody's really fucking with me. The podcast gods suddenly are taking a massive dump on yours truly. Holy shit. For those that are tuning in on a replay, it is 9:05 p.m. Eastern, not 8:05 p.m. Eastern. And for those that are watching video right now, if you see me keep looking this way, I'm just making sure I still see a green bar that you can hear me. Welcome to your latest edition of The Sit Down. It is Sunday night, November 17th. You know, it's funny. There is someone that tunes into our shows, Scorpio1117, and I'm pretty sure he came up with that login name to take a shot at yours truly. I'll tell you a funny personal story about me, and it involves 1117. But check it out, everyone. You know, maybe this helps somebody in the future. Maybe it doesn't. For the last couple of months, if I'm doing a video live stream or if I'm on Discord with Kev doing a DTKC show, or if I am doing a live Discord myself, if I go on Microsoft Edge and let's say, you know, Google something, you know, I try to get something answered during the show. For some reason, my computer, Microsoft Edge takes control of my sound card and you can no longer hear me. And I would have to reset the sound card and kind of totally delete Microsoft Edge as an active component in the background to get the audio to work. So last week I come up with this brainstorm idea. I'll uninstall Microsoft Edge. Fuck you, Microsoft. And problem solved, right? Well, I always set the computer up about 15 minutes before we go live, make sure everything is connected and everything's good. And literally about 2 minutes before I go live, I look at my alert and instead of it being green, it's all red. And I get this weird message from YouTube saying that there's a buffering issue, that there's not enough connection for video to go through. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I have Verizon Fios gig plan. I test my speed. Everything is good. I promise you that I'll be done in less than a minute. But this might help somebody in the future. So my connection is solid. I didn't change anything. I disabled all my firewalls, thinking that maybe my computer's blocking my vMix video program from transferring the video to YouTube. That doesn't work. So I update my NVIDIA video card. That doesn't work. So finally, I'm like, let's just do system restore. And I go to system restore on my computer, and it only restores back to a week ago. So, okay. I restored it from a week ago. And sure enough, I reset my computer, and here we are. So Microsoft Edge, it's like the mafia. I can't get rid of them. The motherfucker's back in my computer. I had to do a system restore back to last week. I don't know, man. Fuck you, Microsoft. Holy shit. But you know what? We're here, and we're live, and I want to thank you very much for joining me. A big shout out to everybody who hung out for an hour. Seriously, I don't know how I can repay you. No cash, obviously, but a sincere thank you for hanging out for a little bit. So the last thing I hate doing is missing a show. Yes, sometimes real life comes, you know, first. But at least I let everybody know a day in advance, a week in advance, a month in advance, hey, there's not going to be a show on this day. I can't remember the last time that I was going to do a show and then I couldn't do it right then and there. I honestly can't. It's got to be years, many years. So bottom line is we are here, and let's do the sit down. What is the sit down? Plain and simple. We call it the Lazy Show. On Sunday nights, I basically hang out with our friends that are live with me, and we talk about whatever they want to get into. Wrestling is the primary, topic of choice for the majority of the shows. Sometimes other things get involved, and if anybody super chats, that obviously would always go to the front of the line because it helps us pay the bills and stay in business. And I see somebody send something in already about Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. And, I'm sure a lot of you probably going to want to talk about that. Let me just let everybody know also that our website, DTKCShow.com, DodandTony.com, Wrestling-News.com, that's going to be undergoing a massive facelift over the next 2 weeks or so. There's going to be some significant changes because as we go into 2025 and we start expanding our content a little bit more and may add a little extra video, and we're going to upgrade This Week in Wrestling History and include the last 5-6 years, including AEW stuff. We want to really make this website, just spectacular. So you'll see some subtle changes over the next 2-3 weeks. And then once everything we know is working, then boom, the entire thing will look completely different. So, I see Machiavelli 420 saying that Mike Tyson did not train enough. I don't know how much you guys want me to talk about Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. I don't know how many of you tuned into the weekend news update because I touched on it briefly. I know I'm going to be talking about it with Kev on Monday because I have no idea how Kev felt about the fight. But I will say this. When I watched the fight, and before I even tell you my thoughts about the fight, as far as the buffering issues, people that are making this dramatic with WWE, they're like, shit, we're going to be on, Raw's going to be there less than 2 months. Oh my God, what did we just 40 million people tuned in? 40 million. How many people are going to tune into Raw on Netflix? 4 on a Monday night? Yes, they will get more viewers because they have 5 times the number of subscribers. And remember what I've been saying for months and months and months. The difference between Verizon Fios and Spectrum and how YouTube TV or however you watch Monday Night Raw. The difference is Monday Night Raw is on the USA Network, which is one of hundreds of cable channels. So whether you tune into Fios or Spectrum or YouTube TV or however you watch live TV, it's one channel of many. But when you go on Netflix, because Netflix is paying $1 billion for WWE, every time you log into Netflix, WWE is going to be right in your face. In your goddamn face. Even if you're 90 years old and don't even know who Hulk Hogan is. Even if you're Habib from Saudi Arabia, never heard of wrestling. Even if you're Antonio from Italy that doesn't speak English. Doesn't matter. If you subscribe to Netflix and it's 50 million subscribers, and Lord knows how many more subscribed the past week. You're going to get 400 million subscribers? USA Network is available right now in, I think, 73 million homes. So WWE is going to be right smack in your face, no matter where you, unless you're in a country that bans pro wrestling, which is a possibility. So the buffering issues, I'm not concerned about, and I don't think WWE is concerned about it. They ain't getting 40 million people tuning into Monday Night Raw live. I don't care what happens on that show. As far as this fight yesterday, I got a video that I'm going to share with everybody. And I posted it yesterday for channel members on YouTube to get a video version of the news updates. I want to share with you now because I am convinced convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt that this was designed, that Mike Tyson was not going to knock out Jake Paul. Jake Paul was not going to knock out Mike Tyson. This was an exhibition. I compared it last night to Thunder Lips versus Rocky Balboa. Hey, yo, go a little easy there. You know, that's the name of the game, brother. Not obviously to that level, but the idea is that it was an exhibition and you're holding back. And somebody posted this on Twitter. And for everybody on video, just look at your screen and pay attention. Actually, before I even play it, pay attention to the bottom part, because that's Mike Tyson training for this fight. And then you look at the top part and you see the difference. Mike Tyson, oh, I had a knee injury. Bullshit. Even if you were Zach Allen and had a fake leg, it's not going to stop your arms from doing what you were doing in training. Obviously, this was an exhibition, especially if they legitimately were trying to knock each other out. I don't care if there's 30 seconds left. The minute Jake Paul puts his arms down and nods out of respect, I don't care if he wants to blow Mike Tyson. You connect him, knock his ass out. You know what people would have said in the boxing world? They wouldn't have said, oh, Mike, that was a cheap shot. You know what they would have said? Yeah, lesson learned, Jake Paul. You don't put your fucking hands down to anybody. You truly respect the boxer in the ring. You don't mock them by putting your hands down and nodding and kneeling. It was just a fucking religious, no, it was an exhibition. And props to many, many states and countries that would not allow people to bet on it. Because I saw, since last night, all of the feedback of those who bet some serious money. And this is there's a reason why a lot of boxing commissions would not regulate this. This was an exhibition. Did I like it? Of course I liked it. I saw some people online comparing Mike Tyson's comeback to George Foreman, which I thought was hilarious because Mike Tyson is 58 years old. And when George Foreman made his comeback in 1987, he was 38. He was 20 years younger than Mike Tyson. You cannot compare the two. I loved it. I thought it was great. Mike Tyson looked spectacular. But now when you look at the video, and you're more than welcome to replay it over and over again, look at Mike Tyson on the bottom, and you look on the top, and he would throw a punch, and he would stop. He'd throw a punch, and he would stop. It's almost like when you're playing a video game. You can only hit A or AB only so many times quickly. It was just, no. This was an exhibition. The guy is a maniac training. And I know what some people would say. Well, Mike Tyson can't do that for 8 rounds. He wouldn't be able to do that for 8 rounds. Could have done it for 1 freaking round. Now, a fan sitting ringside shot a montage of this video. And when you see the montage of this video, it looks a lot different. But if you focus on Mike Tyson more than anything, he's obviously going easy on Jake Paul. And the same thing with Jake Paul as well. So, in my honest opinion, going forward, if Mike Tyson does have another fight, whoever he fights, you will see a completely different Mike Tyson. Yeah, there's the dumb nod. I don't care how. No, you don't do that in boxing. You don't do that in boxing. If Mike Tyson does have another fight, even though he says that he's not, if he does have another fight, whoever he fights, you will see the Mike Tyson that was training in that ring. And then you'll see how different it comes off as far as him and Jake Paul. I think Jake Paul going further he's got to fight someone that is younger, that is currently in their prime, because now it feels like, a social media influencer who can box. I mean, Jake Paul is not bad. I don't like either Paul brother, but he's not bad. But, he's got to fight someone more legit now, because honestly, this exhibition, it was great to see Mike Tyson back in there, but it pissed off a lot of people, because I wouldn't call it a mockery of boxing, because they took that shit seriously. Mike Tyson needed that money. I mentioned this yesterday, a little fact that a lot of people may not know. Yeah, I know. I would love to have just $1 million, everybody. Mike Tyson's net worth is $10 million right now. $10 million. And that is a lot of money still. But when you realize the legacy of Mike Tyson, there should be an extra zero after that. He got paid more in this fight than what he was worth before. He got, some people say, $20 million. Might even be more than that. And also, I say this in closing, 40 million people wanted to see that. What does that tell you about Mike Tyson's worth still in 2024? Even nostalgia. What does that say about Jake Paul? You got that many people tuning in to see those two guys, a 58-year-old and a social media influencer. Now you understand why this went down. If it would have been a turnout like The Rock's latest movie, which is already bombing at the box office, that's a different story. But when you hear 40 million people tune in, big money was made. Big money was made. So the gentleman who sent in this super chat earlier was Jimmy James. And Jimmy said, I agree with you, what you said last night. A lot of people who bet on this fight are pissed because Tyson was obviously holding back. Jake Paul was holding back as well. Nobody was going for the knockout. No one was going for the kill. And it was obvious almost immediately that no one was going for the kill. Personally, if they would have labeled this an exhibition since day one, I don't think anybody would have a problem with it. But I personally, listen, you do what you want. If you want to bet on something, do what you want. Should it have been illegal? No. But there should have been more clarity of what we were actually going to get. I compare it to professional wrestling. If you truly want to bet on wrestling, something that is scripted, you're not betting on who you think is going to win the fight legitimately. You are betting on what you believe creative is going to put over in the fight, who creative's going to put over. There's a big difference here. And it almost could be compared to wrestling, because you kind of feel that Jake Paul continues on. Mike Tyson, probably not. So Jake Paul is designed to be the one to come out on top of this. I just personally think going forward, he's going to have to fight someone much younger and someone who is more legit. And if he gets his ass kicked, so be it. He's a social media influencer. If he gets his ass kicked, he might get a little bit of reality, like, okay, maybe I should fight Evander Holyfield next. Or maybe I should dig up Joe Louis or somebody like that. Maybe I shouldn't fight the guys. And let me tell you something. There's a lot of boxers of today that want to beat the shit out of Jake Paul. Plus, they want to make money. So we'll see what happens. We shall see what happens. Thank you, Jimmy James. Casualties of gaming. Do I think Paul Heyman turns on Roman Reigns when he returns? Nah. I thought about it, and you might even remember I said this with Kev about 6 months ago, that when Paul Heyman took Roman out of the Royal Rumble, was it the Royal Rumble? I think it was no. What was Paul Heyman? Did Paul Heyman, who did he take Roman Reigns out of? Someone remind me that Roman could have bitter feelings for Paul Heyman. The draft, thank you. I knew it was something more recent. Royal Rumble was before WrestleMania. The draft. So Paul Heyman could have legitimate reasons for being upset at Roman Reigns. The thing is, though, is this is about nostalgia, everyone. It's about nostalgia. And, I don't know how you guys feel. And thank you, Casualties, for that. I don't know how you guys feel about Bronson Reed with this. Before I get to Bronson Reed, as far as Paul Heyman goes, I think it would be much to have Paul Heyman come back, turn on Roman Reigns, and then put him with Tangaloa and Solo Sikoa. And although Paul Heyman with Bronson Reed may actually be pretty interesting, I kind of think if Roman Reigns was going to stick around, Paul Heyman stays with Roman Reigns. I personally, I do not see Paul Heyman being the manager and the wise man for the Usos or for Sami Zayn. As long as Roman Reigns remains an on-air competitive wrestler, doesn't have to wrestle all the time, but if he's going to be around, not have these big gaps of being on TV, off TV, I think Paul Heyman will remain with Roman Reigns. As far as Bronson Reed goes, I saw the spoilers for Raw. I didn't give them away. I don't want anybody to write in the chat. You all will see what goes down on Monday. If you saw the spoilers, you kind of had a bad feeling of what was going to happen on SmackDown. See, we already know what follows SmackDown. We already know what happens on Raw. So whatever happened on SmackDown has to make sense for Raw, obviously. So most people were fearing Bronson Reed being added to this. But I brought up something yesterday on the news update that I haven't really seen anybody bring up. And that is Drew McIntyre. It was 1 year ago that Drew McIntyre teamed up with the Judgment Day for Survivor Series, War Games. So this is nothing new with WWE adding someone that's not part of the faction. I didn't like the idea at first at all. I like it now. You know why I like it? And I'm going to give you reasons. I'm not going to just say I like it because I like it. There's only so many people left that Bronson Reed could tsunami on Raw. If you really think about it, he's gone through quite a few people. So, he can interact with CM Punk down the line, and he can interact with the Drew McIntyre. How that would work, I don't know. But there's not many names still. So if Bronson Reed is part of a faction, and the big question is, does Bronson Reed stay with the Bloodline after Survivor Series? That's the big question. We don't know. Could there be a trade? Could Bronson Reed end up being traded to SmackDown so he stays with the new Bloodline? The reason why I like it is because we have gone through years of this Bloodline storyline. We have gone through Roman and the Usos, then the Wise Man, then somebody got Usi, and then, first he was a heel, then he got Usi, and then he was babyface, and then he got his ass kicked, and then he fought Roman in Canada, and then he teamed up with Kevin Owens, and then they won the tag titles, and they were no longer with the Bloodline. And then Jay, Deuce, out. Jay leaves the Bloodline, and Jay fights Jimmy, and they are no longer together. And then Roman loses the title to Cody, and then Roman is off TV, and now all of a sudden, everything that the Bloodline did to Sami Zayn, suddenly Sami Zayn, within 2 weeks, he's holding his finger up. No. It's all right. I wanna get back together. Could Sami Zayn ultimately turn heel for the insult, you're not family? Could that happen down the line? Possibly. My point is, I think a lot of you will agree with me that Jimmy and Jay realigning with Roman. Now Sammy realigning with the Bloodline felt extremely rushed and felt loose, felt messy, felt like there was a lot of holes. Like, if Jay is totally solo, why would he keep showing up on SmackDown? Hear Roman out. You know, like, it was just too messy. How long do you want this mess to continue? How many additional chapters do you want? Do you want to find out that Sammy realigned with them just to fuck them over because he was bitter because what was said to him? If that happens, how stupid is it going to look if he fights alongside the OG Bloodline at Survivor Series? You know, and then after Survivor Series, you still want the original Bloodline to feud with these motherfuckers? We were complaining about Wyatt Six being on TV for 7 months. And the only thing they did up until a couple of weeks ago was go against American Made. People don't realize that Wyatt Six was mingling with American Made for 6 goddamn months. 6 months. You want more of the OG Bloodline versus the new blood? I think people are getting a little tired of it. So I personally think that adding Bronson Reed now shifts away that it's only Bloodline members. Remember when we heard about Hikuleu joining WWE, and you heard about, you know, other members of that family, and people are like, oh my God, could you stop with all these Samoans? We don't need more members of the Bloodline. It's about time, once we come and go from WrestleMania, we got to start breaking away from the OG Bloodline and the new Bloodline. You have to start going in different directions. It's getting a little played. Now, obviously, The Rock is still the wild card here. Could The Rock end up at Survivor Series? I don't think Roman Reigns was supposed to call the wise. I don't think that that's what the Usos and Sami Zayn had in mind. I mean, obviously, you see Raw spoilers, you know what I'm talking about. But when Roman called the wise man, you know, I don't think that that's actually, put it this way, when the OG Bloodline are getting their ass kicked on SmackDown and Bronson Reed is hitting Roman with tsunamis, calling Paul Heyman does what? Does what? That's going to stop Bronson Reed from beating the shit out of Roman Reigns? What's he going to do? Why? Ladies and gentlemen, you know, like, no, you have to get another person who could kick the new Bloodline's ass. So, all right. We shall continue. We shall continue. Tyrese Meridiano. See, when you say it fast, even if you don't know how to pronounce the last name, it sounds good. Meridiano. Have I ever gotten prank calls to my office? Yeah, but now I have spam filters and, you know, the caller IDs have to register. And if it's a block call, it'll just, it won't even ring. I won't even know that the person's calling. Really don't get them at all. So if any of you are thinking about doing that, I wouldn't do it. Trust me, wasting your time. So, but no, I never, I mean, in my office, I still get, you know, here's a true story, guys. My cousin, God rest his soul, his name was Frank. Not going to say his last name. He started my insurance business with me. I became a broker in 1998. My original business was him and I partnering. Unfortunately, he took his own life about 6-7 months later. Yeah, and I know what some of you are going to say. DT, you annoyed the shit out of him, huh? No, it's complicated. It was a lot of money issues that nobody knew about. But he took his own life. To this day, he died in 1999. To this day, I still get phone calls to my office. Hello, may I speak to Frank? You know what I always say? He'll be in at 2:30. And then they'll call back around 2:30. Hello, may I speak to Frank? Oh, he was tied up. He'll be back at 4. And then they call at 4 o'clock. The office is closed. Please try again tomorrow. For real. Here's another little tidbit. Remember at the beginning of the show, I said something about 11/17? Today is 11/17, November 17th. I hate this date. You know why I hate this date? This is a true story. I met my now wife about 2 weeks before Superstorm Sandy. Superstorm Sandy was around the 29th of October. So I met her around the middle of October. So we were dating for about 2 weeks, and then Sandy hit. Everything got all fucked up. And, our relationship after 2 weeks was very, very, minor because, I was dealing with my family stuff and everything. Probably about maybe a week before, no, I'd say about a week before Sandy. We were dating for about a week and a half. We went to dinner. We had gone out a few times already, and we were getting along, talking on the phone 5-6 hours in one shot, no joke. Now I can't talk for 6 minutes. I dropped her off at home, and she's like, "You want to come in for a little while?" And I was like, "Do I?" I was like, "Yeah." I came inside. We were sitting on the couch watching TV, and I've, kissed her on the cheek, hello and goodbye so far. So we were sitting on the couch watching TV, and I turned over and went to give her a kiss on the lips. She did one of these. And when she did one of these, I saw this big digital clock in the background, and it was 11:17 p.m. And she's like, I'm not ready yet. I was like, oh, okay, all right. And then we had a good joke about it because 11:17 always stuck around. So whenever the clock hits 11:17, if I'm up and my wife sees it, she'll be like, "Honey, look what time it is." And I'd be like, "Shut up, you cunt. You bitch." Now today's 11:17, the date. So now I got to deal with it all day long. So I told her I'm going to do the show till it's 11:18. So, but that's real. That is legit. I went to kiss her for the first time, and she turned her head away. And when she turned her head away, I turned my head away at the same time, and it was 11:17 p.m. Forever, that date will be fucked up. Want to hear something weird? Since we're talking about times and everything, I don't know if this ever happened to any of you out there. And you know why I'll tell you why I always remember the time. For, I would say about 10 to 15 years, I had this weird thing happening to me. Not every night, but I would say at least 10 to 15 times a month for about 15 years. I would be sleeping, and I would wake up and look at the clock, and it was 3:04 a.m. At least 10 to 15 times a month for about 15 years. I would wake up, and I go look at the clock, see what time it is, 3:04 a.m. The only reason why I remember the time still to this day is because back in the 80s when we had beepers, if you were mad at someone, I think you would do 3:04, which if you turn it upside down, I think it spells ho. For real. I don't know if any of you out there had beepers back in the day, but yeah, if you wanted to send a message, like if you were dating someone and they were being an asshole, you would just type 3:04, I think it was, and you turn it upside down and it's spelled ho. Something like that. Anyway, I think we're getting a little off topic here. Rams fan says first time hooking up. No, it hooked up before, but she was just being, yeah, I have my chain. I don't know. I was just playing with it earlier. So I got this chain since I think I was like 20 years old. I was going to sell it about 10 years ago, and I was going to get like 3 G's for it. And then I pussied out at the last minute. So I still wear it once in a while. Alexander Urs, do I think Warner Brothers Discovery can cancel Collision due to low ratings in 2025? They could cancel anything they want. I personally think if they're going to do anything, they'll probably move it to a different time slot. You know, what a lot of you need to know, this is something that a lot of people in the media world don't bring up. You know, of course, first run programming is the most important. You know, don't let anybody tell you that ratings don't matter. That is just asinine stupid, because that's why advertisers pay advertising money. They want you to watch the commercials first run. They don't want you to watch it on a replay or a DVR, because they know you could fast forward through it. That's why live sports commands higher money when it comes to advertising. That is proven. If you talk to anybody in the TV media world, fuck wrestling for a minute, they will tell you that when advertisers pay money to advertise on a TV show, they want you to watch the commercials first run. That's just a fact. So when it comes to the advertisers that pay money that are on AEW programming, those advertisers want you to watch them. That's why it is picture in picture, guys. You know, don't let yourselves believe that WWE and AEW just wants to treat us that, we'll do picture in picture once in a while because you get a little extra to see what you're missing during the commercial break. Fungal. No, it's just that advertiser really wants you to watch their commercial and not channel surf. So to entice you from not changing the channel, they do picture in picture. They don't do picture in picture to see what Dominic Mysterio's doing around ringside during a commercial break. No, they want you, hopefully, to not change the channel so they could air the commercial next to it. That is no joke. Not exaggerating. I'm not wrong. So as far as Warner Brothers Discovery goes, if Collision is not doing strong enough, you know, because advertisers, they're paying money. You know, and Warner Brothers Discovery is not going to, get an advertiser. I'll give you $50. Come on, man. This fucking show draws nothing. I'll give you $50 to advertise, this ShamWow. You know, they want their commercials to be seen. So if the ratings get really, really low and stay low, I could see it on a different time slot. Might be later at night. Might be during the week, could be on a Sunday night. We don't know. We really don't know. But here's what I was going to say before that no one in the wrestling world tells you. AEW programming is repeated multiple times every week. Go look up True TV. Go look up Warner Brothers Discovery's other channels. Or go on your cable TV service and just type in AEW and look at the TV guide for the next 7 days. You will see Dynamite, Collision, Rampage repeated. At Dynamite at least. And I'm pretty sure Collision is repeated 3 or 4 times. So, even though the first run numbers are kind of shitty, they do get some additional viewership on the replays, but that's not what the advertisers want at the end of the day. So. Scorpio, it's his birthday. Wait a minute, is this Scorpio 1117? We were just talking about you prick. It's his birthday. Make Jay Cargill United States Women's Champion. Let's pull him up. Yes, it is. That wasn't done intentionally, my friend, but that 1117 is cut off. Happy birthday. Oh, shit. So you really didn't create that login to take a shot at me. I just figured it out. Scorpio 1117. Hey, it's my birthday, 1117. Scorpio, if you are not embarrassed to wear a DTKC 20th anniversary shirt, DM me on Twitter or email me, and we'll hook you up with a shirt. We'll hook you up with the 20th anniversary shirt. We don't fake news to make news. Just a little birthday present, and for me, kind of doing the Whoopi Goldberg on you, accusing you of, maybe creating that ID to rub it in because I hate the 1117. I always thought that he created that as a little shot because I told that story a long time ago. So happy birthday, man. Happy birthday. Make Jade Cargill United States Women's Champion. He also thinks Britt Baker wants out of AEW. You know, as far as Britt Baker leaving AEW, I think it'll happen. I don't know how much she wants it, though. This is not a shot on Britt Baker. I don't know how much she wants it. It's one thing you need to understand, guys. A lot of these wrestling websites, do you remember last year I said 2024 will be the year of the contract? I don't know if anybody remembers when I said that last year. I do not believe 2025 will be the year of the contract. And I'll tell you why. Because there is a different mindset between AEW and WWE. There are wrestlers that truly want to build a legacy, to be, larger than life stars. And, WrestleMania is a big part of it. There are some wrestlers that they don't want to tour all across the globe. Let me go to Michigan once in a while. Let me go to Ohio and Albany and Chicago. You got to remember, and I'm not saying this to be an asshole. We're in the year 2024 where many people out there, they game and they stay on social media all day long. There are wrestlers out there that I ain't working a WWE schedule. Fuck that. I got to go to United Kingdom. I got to go to England. Same thing. I got to go to Saudi Arabia. Then I got to go to California. Then I got to fly all the way to Jersey. Then I got to go to Texas. Then I got to go to Australia. Then I got to go to Puerto Rico. Then I got to do this. And then I got to do that. And then when I'm in, I can't handle that. I want to home. I want to be on my Twitch. Not everybody can handle that schedule. So if they could go to AEW and do a squash match once in a while, and wrestle on a Collision, get paid a lot of money. Listen, I'm going to go there. I don't do it on Twitter anymore because I'm not going to start engagement farming. But I saw a video on Collision. I watched Collision because I wanted to see the November Rain video. And I saw Taya Valkyrie, Deonna Purrazzo putting the women's roster on notice. And I swear to you, if I would have been drinking a glass of milk when I watched that, I would have laughed so hard that the milk would have went down my esophagus out through my nostrils. That actually did happen to me when I was in grade school. I was drinking milk once, and I laughed so hard that it actually shot through my nostrils and hit somebody in the face. You can't actually do that. They've been there for how long? How many fucking times, Deonna Purrazzo, have you put the women's roster on notice? Nothing against her. This is not a shot on her. But I kind of want to see that little digital clock in the background from Groundhog Day go to 6 a.m. I literally, when she was cutting that promo with Taya Valkyrie, putting the women on notice, I honestly wanted to hear that I got you. It was like Groundhog Day. How many fucking times you're going to say, how long have you been there? How many times you put the women on notice? But for some people, they're getting paid good. They don't have to do that much. They can repeat the same shit every couple of months. And they're set. Some people, that's good enough for them. I truly don't know how much Britt Baker wants it. Not every wrestler wants to work the WWE grind. Look, no joke. Up until I got my insurance business, well, I had my car accident too, but up until the mid-90s when I was working, when I applied for jobs, one of the things that came into play is, what was the dress code? I worked for Smith Barney in New York City in 1987. I had to wear a suit every day. Back in the 80s, I don't know what it was, but back in the 80s, all I know is that my ass itched whenever I sat on the train. I'd literally be like this, like I'm moving around, I'm doing hula hoops. For some reason, my ass always itched whenever I wore suits. I wanted to work for a place where I could wear like jeans and a nice polo shirt and this and that. Dress code meant that much to me. So there's some wrestlers out there that, hey, if I could wear the lighter schedule and Tony Khan pays me big money, yeah, that's good enough for me. That's why some people work for AEW. So when you hear about some wrestlers, 2025, they're going to be big battles between WWE and AEW because of how much Tony Khan pays. No. Remember Will Ospreay getting his feelings hurt from Triple H? Indirectly, of course. Some wrestlers out there don't want that kind of grind. It's just a fact of life. This is a part of today. How many times you see on YouTube, some people like, oh my God, I'm really nervous. Trump is going to be president. I may have to work. Oh, boo-hoo. It's like some people truly think that, I kind of like, not having to, do as much. Now, getting back to Scorpio with Jade Cargill and Britt Baker. Jade Cargill is the United States Women's Champion. I like it, but I would love to see Chelsea Green get it first because Jade Cargill's had quite a bit of success already. So waiting on the United States Championship is perfectly fine with me with her. Even when people are making the argument for Naomi's gotten her reward quite a bit in her career. I'll give it to Chelsea Green. Just let it be the first one, and then you could worry about the others. But Britt Baker, if she goes to WWE, then she really legitimately wants to take her shit seriously. And she ain't going to be a dentist and a WWE superstar at the same time, unless being a dentist is her gimmick. If she's Dr. Isabel Yankum, DDS. Roderick Howard, how would I assess the Jon Moxley Death Rider storyline so far? Do I think a Shane McMahon AEW debut is still possible, or is it the end game? I don't know if it's the end game, but if Tony Khan made the right offer to Shane, I could see Shane going there for a little bit. I don't think Ari Emanuel would be like, ooh, you're never coming back here again. I think Triple H would be happy for Shane. I don't think it would be, Vince, it would be pretty funny though. I was thinking about this the other day. If Shane McMahon showed up in AEW, I wonder if Vince would feel the same way Joe Biden did when he sat next to Trump. You see that smile on Joe Biden's face? Everybody thinks that Biden voted for Trump. Like Joe Biden was happy from ear to ear what happened in the election. So Vince might be ecstatic if Shane shows up in AEW because he was forced out of WWE. I personally think I'm not feeling the Death Rider storyline. I said this a week ago. I'm still waiting for everybody else to pick up on it. Jon Moxley's inherited Bryan Danielson's power. I don't know if anybody realized that. Jon Moxley has inherited Bryan Danielson's power. And when you hear that this was all Jon Moxley's idea, yeah. Jon Moxley right now is seizing laziness. That's what he's seizing. He didn't just seize JD Drake the other day, or he's going to seize Orange Cassidy. He seized laziness. He could walk down to the ring slow. He could just beat down people. Oh, everybody's got to start from somewhere. The problem is a lot of the people that are starting from down there should stay down there, because with all due respect, not everybody, just because you like them and they work hard, doesn't mean that they're primetime players. There's a lot of people, with all due respect, there's people in the Dark Order, this fucking thing Still, I don't know who the hell sent me this. Damn you. There's a lot of people in the Dark Order. Honestly, indie guys. 5 years. I still don't know what Alex Reynolds looks like if I saw him on the street. Nothing against JD Drake. I watched a clip from Ring of Honor 2 weeks ago that he made his return and he's looking at his partner in the ring and they're looking around in the audience. I said, the fuck you think they're going to react to it? You ain't no, like home, like a household name. Look at you. Look at you with all due respect. Being heavy like me and having more gray hair than me and I'm a lot older than you. Just because you could do a cartwheel, that doesn't make you a primetime player. And this is nothing against him. I think he wrestles great. When John Moxley hits him with a chair, most people are like, good. One less fucking person that shouldn't be on my TV, off TV. Hitting Chuck Taylor. Chuck Taylor, like, honestly, I understand every wrestler in the world has a little bit of a fan base, but in storyline, if Chuck Taylor fell off a cliff, like posing and accidentally slipped on a rock and fell down in the ocean, kind of like a bad Roadrunner cartoon, I wouldn't cry at all. They're like, good, he's off TV. Let him hang out home with his family now. I like a lot of these people that they're beating up, nobody cares about. Nobody cares. They care. They show up wearing T-shirts and ripped jeans. Mr. Moxley, that went out in 1998. Ripped jeans and a white Hanes tank top. Ooh, on Saturday, they were wearing a jacket. It is just a lazy storyline. It's the Blackpool Combat Club renamed. And now they wear lazy fucking T-shirts and jeans. Like, they're taking over. I just, Let me put it this way. Any of you Star Trek fans out there, remember Landru? I am Landru. Remember when Captain Kirk told Landru was a computer? Actually, I nailed it. Let's pretend John Moxley is Landru. I think that was the computer's name. Landru was trying to eliminate anything evil. So Landru, I think, believed that Star Trek Enterprise was evil also, and he was trying to terminate evil. So somehow Captain Kirk convinces the computer, Landru, that he's evil. Landru, you believe that anything evil should be removed. That is correct. Well, Landru, if you are evil, then you must eliminate yourself. God, Star Trek was fucked up. Robot suicide in 1966. No, that I cannot compute. I am Landru. John Moxley should fucking beat the shit out of himself. He wants to eliminate everything that's been causing problems in AEW. Stand in the fucking mirror and stop beating on yourself. Everything. When Marina Shafir, was doing her stuff in the ring. Why? Because now she wears different clothing and she walks around. Suddenly, she can wrestle a lick. They should beat up themselves. John Moxley is Landru. If he wants to eliminate everything that is wrong with AEW, Mox, look in the mirror and fucking hit yourself over the head with a baseball bat. Death Riders. Sounds like something me and my friends would have done when we were like 22 years old. Come on, let's play teams. Let's play war. We'll be the Death Riders. What are you, fucking 12? And I am an AEW fan. I did watch Collision. Wasn't that big of a deal, but I watched Collision. I wanted to see what's going on. I want the product to be better. But, just because they think that they're making intriguing stuff, listen, how many times have you went on Amazon or Borders books if you're older or any bookstore and you see all these people writing books, and then you see the reviews and they're like, oh, this book is fucking awful. I guarantee the author of that book, when they were writing it, he or she, or they or them, or whatever their pronoun is, I'm sure they probably didn't think, wow, this sucks. Oh my God, I'm writing this book. Oh my God, honey, people gonna use this as toilet paper. This sucks. Oh, they probably thought they were writing a great book. You see some of these love novels, some people think that they're great and they suck. Same thing about Moxley and some of the people there. They could think that they're writing intriguing TV, but guess what? Amazon reviews, Death Riders, you suck. Gruss is asking, was Aces and Eights better than the Moxley Death Riders? Yes. Aces and Eights, even though Bully Ray being the leader was one of the funniest things back then, made no sense, but whatever. What was good about it was they were feuding with other people that were up there on the card. Moxley is trying to rid of all the problems of AEW, and they're beating up all the people that nobody gives a fuck about. And somehow Orange Cassidy is the leader of those goofs out there. Put it this way. Imagine if the NWO, Hall, Nash, and Hogan, after they formed in WCW, and then that Monday Nitro you tuned in, and the NWO is out for revenge, and they start beating up Jerry Flynn with an F. They start beating up Ice Train. They start beating up Super Calo. They start beating up Villano number 2. And they don't fuck with Sting. They don't fuck with Lex Luger. No, they're going to beat up fucking the Gambler. Imagine if the NWO shut up on Nitro. Hey, yo, we're going to take over WCW. Our first target is the Gambler. That's what Moxley's doing. Stupid. El Dandy. Glacier, believe it or not, guys, I know wrestle fuckheads and what culture want to rewrite history. When Mortal Kombat became a thing, Glacier was over in the mid-90s. I kid you not. When he was first doing what he was doing, and they had the blue, and he's doing all this, he was over. You'd be surprised. After a little while, it sucked. But at one point, Glacier was over, my friends. Mr. S, it was so simple of a story to tell. Have the Death Riders every week do brutal injury angles to all the ACW stars, forcing Tony Khan to bring in guests to have his company. That's what he should be doing anyways. I agree, but, they fucked up with the Elite. I personally think the reason why the Young Bucks are off TV is because they were like, wait a minute. We just did a storyline where we were taking control of AEW. Now the Death Riders are doing it. We got to kind of align, or wait a minute. We're the ones in charge. You can't do that. It just, the Young Bucks were like, oh, they're kind of doing the same shit that we were going to do. So how do we fix this? Oh, okay, we were going to quit or go home. It's just a mess. It might have been a great idea if it was at a different time, but it's just a mess. And I say this with sincerity because, I watch the product more than you think. And I see this stuff and I just nod my head and I'm like, who there truthfully behind the scenes, thinks that this is very good. The funniest was the T-shirts and Willie Yuta looking like that he just fucking slept in a homeless shelter, wearing the fucking sweatpants and sneakers. Like, that's what a faction looking to eliminate everybody does. Let's go to Target. Let's buy a 5-pack of Hanes for $12.99. And let's tear some holes in the jeans so we look rugged. That's like ridiculous. It's stupid. But, they got to do it anyway, so. Dog. What up, dog? Dog 29J. In honor of Don Pony, a.k.a. Adrian. What was my memory of him? He loved that deli man, wanted bread shirt. He passed away back in 2016 in Bay Ridge. Are you kidding me? You're serious? Don Pony? That kid? Holy shit. Don't super chat this. Write it in the chat room. What did he die of? This is the first I'm hearing about this. All right, for those that don't know, hear me out, please. Hear me out. I've been doing this since 97. And we had a very, very huge fan base over the years. We had all ages tuning in. One of the persons that tuned in was a kid, probably 11, 12. He called himself Don Pony. And he wore all my shirts. He would take pictures of him wearing my shirts. And at some point, it almost felt weird because, like this kid came off almost obsessed, like DT, something's a little strange here. And we would kind of like downplay it because it's just a kid, having fun. There was a wrestling fan. There was nothing else to it. But yeah, that's the same Don Pony, guys, from the 123 Flash Chat days. He would send me emails with pictures of him wearing my shirts. And I'm like, oh, that's cool and everything, but it got weird. And he was like 11 or 12. And like really, calling himself Don Pony and all his logins, I think on MySpace and others were all Don Pony stuff. And then now you're telling me that he died in 2016. Holy shit, car accident. Dog says Solar Monster was there delivering hibachi or something. Holy shit, I had no idea. Wow. I'm sorry to hear that. He was probably our youngest fan of what we did, and he was just a good kid, from what I saw. He would get vulgar in the chat. That's why it got even more strange also. But damn. So he died at 13 years old. Adrian Ortega. Wow. Benjamin says, weren't kids banned from listening? Come on. Seriously, come on. Back in the 80s, I would watch scrambled porn at 13 years old. My parents would go to sleep. I put on channel 68, WQHT, I think it was, or something like that. And you would see, actually, that's how we would try to watch wrestling pay-per-views without paying for it. You would see like scrambled TV and I think I see Macho Man, but it was kind of like all distorted, but that's what you would do. You would watch scrambled porn. When you're not allowed to do something, that's when you do it. That's how I became a wrestling fan. My grandmother let me watch wrestling at 10 years old. My grandmother, I've told this story before. My grandmother was babysitting me and my brother. We were at her house in Ridgewood, Queens. And it was Saturday night at midnight, and she had wrestling on. My grandmother used to have this black and white TV right by her bed, and I heard the wrestling from the other room, so I walked into the bedroom. I said, Nana, what are you watching? And she let me sit by the bed, and I saw wrestling for the first time. And I was amazed by it. So the next day, my mom and my dad went to pick us up, and my mom was like, "What did you do yesterday?" My grandmother made us dinner. She made us eggs in the morning and this other stuff. And I said, "Yeah." And I got to watch wrestling. And my mother started yelling at my grandmother, "Don't let them watch that. You didn't know, they're too young for that." As soon as I heard that, I was like, my parents go to sleep on a Saturday night at midnight, that motherfucking TV, Channel 9 was on. So I became a wrestling fan. When you can't have something, it's like dogs. It's like dogs. My dogs do it all the time. I'll put a treat out, and especially Bella, she'll sniff it. She'll be like, "The fuck is this?" And she walks away. But if I tease, if I'm going to take it away, suddenly she wants to eat it. You know, sometimes when you tease, you get that you can't have something, that's when you want to have it. So it's kind of like teasing. Even some relationships, even some people do that. You know, I'm not going to call him. I'm not going to call her, because if she thinks that I might not be interested, she may want to call me. Rest in peace, Don Pony. I had no idea. I'm going to tell Kev tomorrow. I had no idea. Holy shit. 13, man. Wow, whole life ahead of him. Mark Hicks. Do I believe Vince Russo had a positive impact on WCW when he arrived in 99? And do I believe WWF suffered without him when he left? You know, listen, there's no secret I've been a supporter of Vince Russo back in his Vic Venom days. I also am one that will say that a lot of what Vince Russo did was not very good. Vince Russo to wrestling is kind of what Trump was to real estate. Like, Trump had some bankruptcies, you know, but Trump also was able to build some projects and make some money out of it. Vince Russo had a lot of good ideas. With all due respect to Jim Cornette, you know, I don't listen to his shows as much as I've been for various reasons. Still a supporter of his, big supporter of Brian Last. Brian Last grew on me very quickly a couple of years ago. But I'll say this. When I hear Jim Cornette talk about Vince Russo in the 90s, and he's like, "Yeah, this asshole thought that this was Jerry Springer and Girls Gone Wild, and, you know, he wanted to do what they were doing." No fucking shit. That's what society was in the mid to late 90s. You know, Ultimate Fighting was underground. It had the perception that it was underground. It was banned. It was not accepted by the general public. Girls Gone Wild, you would see commercials at 2:00 in the morning with all these women. That's why, with all due respect to Mina Shirakawa, when she's doing this on Collision, as she's doing it, you know what I say? "Hey, Mina, all I got to do is type PORNHUB.com and I can see it without an outfit on. There's many women that look just like you without a shirt on right now." You know, my point is, sometimes you got to have your content reflect society. Because if it reflects society, you have a bigger chance of society wanting to tune in. When you see products that are outdated, doesn't get a big audience. That's why sometimes over the years, when you recreate an era from years past, it doesn't work. Look at, I know I'm really going too far back, but look at Happy Days. Happy Days originally was a concept, I think, in like 1971. And I don't know if it was called Love American Style or some different name. And they did a pilot for it. And the networks are like, "Want this?" And it was based on the 50s. It was based on the 50s. And it was early 70s. And all the networks are like, "What the shit?" And then the movie American Graffiti came out. And Ron Howard was in that movie. And some TV producers saw that movie and how popular American Graffiti was. So I don't remember the producer, something Marshall. he redid the Happy Days pilot or whatever, and they changed it to Happy Days, and then I think it was ABC TV picked up on it, and it became a huge hit. You know, some TV shows, you know, look at some of the shows. I love the 70s or whatever it was. You know, some TV shows killed it and people loved it. You do the 80s, people loved it. You do the 90s. Some people, though, don't have a grasp. You know, not everything clicks. But Vince Russo, Gary Marshall, thank you, Big G. Vince Russo was reflecting society at the time. If anything, Jim Cornette was probably the one more out of touch because it was up to Jim Cornette. He probably would have still had the Verne Gagne type of wrestling at the time. Society changed. It's like reality TV. You know, that's really what started coming in. So not everything that Vince Russo did worked. There was a lot that I did not like. I don't think he helped WCW, to be honest with you. I think standards and practices was the biggest issue because it's almost like MJF. MJF is probably the greatest heel that AEW has ever had. And MJF could kill it on the mic in AEW because he can call your mother a crack whore. And he can say some really, really fucked up stuff. When he goes to WWE, when it happens, I mean, yeah, I mean, on Netflix, he might be able to say some of it, but WWE is not going to lose all that young viewership right now. It's not going to be that much different. So there's going to be a huge filter on MJF. Now, MJF, he's so talented, he should be able to kill it without calling people crack whores. But in the case of Vince Russo was able to go over the top. The USA Network allowed it. For WCW and Turner, there was standards and practices that he came in and standards and practices like, we ain't fucking letting it. Look at Lenny Lane. Look at Lenny Lane. Nobody ever brings up that story with Lenny Lane. You know, I don't think Vince Russo had anything to do with it, but didn't Lenny Lane win the Cruiserweight Championship and then he had to like lose it in a phantom match because standards and practices didn't want a wrestler to be champion that was perceived to be gay? I covered on the history show. You know, standards and practices was really fucked up. So it's put it this way. It's like taking a movie writer that writes R-rated programming and sending him to Disney and say, okay, write something for Disney. Hey, I got this great idea. The genie's going to fuck the girl and then the girl's going to rub him and he's going to, no, we can't do any of that. Are you crazy? Yeah, but the genie, all right. So he just rubs his face. You know, he had too many restrictions. Then it's like, why did they bring him there? Honestly, you know what I say? Don't criticize Vince Russo for what he did to WCW. Criticize WCW for fucking signing him in the first place when they should have had the smarts to say, he can't write what he's doing in WWF. He can't do that. Can't do any of this. It's WCW's fault for signing him in the first place. They should have said, listen, we in a different world, we would have loved to bring you over here, but you know, we got standards and practices and, you know, nah, we can't do any of that. You know, even Ed Ferrara, when they brought him there and he's doing Oklahoma, you know, I mean, he got away with it in the beginning until, you know, people started realizing that he's making fun of somebody with Bell's palsy and everything like that. So, all right. Yeah, listen, Lenny and Lodi were pretty good at the time. I mean, the problem with Lenny Lane is he looked like a Chris Jericho ripoff at the time. The way he would put his hair up and the way he looked a lot like Chris Jericho. I mean, you knew it wasn't, it was obviously they had differences, but the way he looked a lot like Chris Jericho back then. Because Chris Jericho used to have his hair up when he was feuding with Goldberg and all that, and he would suck on the lollipops. Elroy, do I see the Hurt Syndicate with Will Hobbs and Athena and Swerve Strickland? If that happened, would it be successful or flopping? Would it flop? Here's the problem. And I always try to think one step ahead. Who are they going to feud with? What faction? It's a great idea. See, if I ever interviewed MVP, I would ask MVP, it's not a gotcha question, but I would ask him this honest question that no one out there, not even Chris Van Vliet, would ask this question. When he kept saying that WWE fucked up the Hurt business, they were going to align and the shirts were made and this and that, I would have said to him, MVP, with all due respect, who are you going to feud with at the time? Who's you going to feud with? Judgment Day was on a different brand. Bloodline was in a different planet. You start breaking it down. Who are you going to feud with? Now you start trying to just think of factions by default, and what do you come up with? Legado del Fantasma? Elektra Lopez, I don't believe was there at the time. BFAB, I guess you could have put her with them. But when you start breaking it down, you don't sign people to have one feud. So even if you did put them against the LWO, then what? And then what? Alpha Academy? Oh, I can't wait to see Bobby Lashley versus Otis. Oh, and I'm going to see Shelton Benjamin versus Chad Gable. You're going to see Akira Tozawa against whoever. Like, that gets old very quickly. And then you're like 3 months later, like, okay, now what? Well, I got it. Let's bring him to NXT and they could feud with the family. Tony D, Stacks. Everybody says these things to MVP and it makes him feel good and everything. But I look back at that time and I say, who the fuck were they going to feud with? So I say that because of now. Who are they going to feud with? You could have this great faction. If you want to keep it all black, you could have this great all black faction. What are you going to feud them against? If you're going to focus on black, what are you going to do? Feud against white? You know what I mean? Like you have to think one step ahead. Like, okay, man, Hobbs would be awesome. Listen, I think Hobbs and Lashley would be an amazing tag team. You could put Swerve Strickland and Shelton Benjamin as a tag team. You could bring Athena in there and she would be great as well. But now you got to start thinking to yourselves, okay, who are you going to feud with? Oh, I got it. Let's put Anna Jay with the Dark Order again. And let's have him feud with the Dark Order. Like, what are you going to do? Even if you said, oh, I got it, let him feud with the Death Riders. Then what? So having these factions are great. But you see what happened with the Wyatt Six? The Wyatt Six spent 6 months with American Made, pretty much, or Chad Gable, if you want to break it down. 6 months, more than that. Now they're messing with Miz and the Final Testament, and it's already been, what, a month and a half? It's got to be a month and a half, at least. Once they're done with that, what do you do next? Maybe the Judgment Day? All right. Then after that, then what do you do? What do you do? You're going to have to split them up. Or they get drafted to SmackDown. Factions are not easy to keep together because you realize quickly who they're going to feud with. Eric would like to know, what's my opinion on Kenny Omega returning to New Japan instead of AEW? Because he said AEW is running on all cylinders. Kenny Omega's not stupid. I don't want to make this about me, but it's the best way I could answer that. When I feuded with Bully Ray, where he wanted to kick me and Kevin's ass 12 years ago, whatever it was. The thing is that we were criticizing the shit out of TNA because of what we saw. We did the Aces 0.8s because the ratings dropped all the way down to 0.8. We were saying a lot of things. And when right in the middle of going back and forth online with Bully Ray, and now everything's cool. I want to make that clear. And I have nothing but appreciation for Bully Ray for many, many years. At the time, it was different. But the one thing I'll always remember is in the middle of this going back, and this will answer your question, and it'll explain Kenny Omega. In the midst of going back and forth with this, he invited Kevin and I to go to Florida so he could confront us in the ring at a TNA event. Now, realistically, even if we would have accepted, he would have been like, what are you, fucking stupid? We ain't going to fucking pay you to go. Nobody in the building wants to see you guys in the ring. You guys are none. Like, I know even if we would have accepted, we would have been laughed at. But here's my point. Tito Ortiz made his debut in the middle of all of this. And I remember it was Kurt Angle's faction at the time. I don't know if it was Main Event Mafia, but he had a faction in the middle of the ring. And Tito Ortiz goes down the rampway. And his music was so clear because there was no crowd reaction. You could have burned it on a CD and claimed you ripped it off of an album. And he's in the ring. I mean, he's in the rampway. And all I keep thinking in my brain at the time is Don West. Tito Ortiz! Look, everyone, it's Tito Ortiz! Tito Ortiz! He got no reaction. And I said to him, Bully Ray, I said, how do you explain that? I said, guy's like one of the greatest UFC guys at the time. He got no reaction whatsoever. You guys think that this is a great idea, bringing in Rampage Jackson and all this. No, wrestling fans don't give a fuck about these guys. And he didn't really have anything to say. And then I still have the tweet online. And I said, I don't expect an answer because Bully Ray would have been a fool to answer that. He is going to take Dixie Carter's side. We did not expect Bully Ray to say, I kind of agree with you. Yeah, he didn't get any reaction. He's not going to do that. He's going to defend his employer. Same thing about Kenny Omega. Is Kenny Omega really going to come out in an interview and throw that bomb that anti-AEW fans are desperate for him to say? No, he's going to, say, hey, they just, struck a TV deal, 100-something million, say what you want about the ratings. If you want to rip anybody, rip Warner Brothers Discovery. Say, no wonder why your investors are leaving you. How the fuck could you pay that kind of money for a show that draws flies? Rip Warner Brothers Discovery. Don't rip AEW or Tony Khan. If anything, they kind of made out like bandits, if you think about it. Imagine having a podcast that only got 300, 400 viewers or listens. And then some big advertising company hooks you up. And that podcast that only gets 300, 400 people tuning in suddenly starts plugging. And I'm like, where the fuck did he get that advertiser? Look how small they are. Holy shit. How did the fuck they get that? Don't rip the person plugging it. Rip the advertiser for fucking hiring them. So Kenny Omega saying that, I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all. What's he going to say? I know AEW is going a lot of problems right now. What problems are there? Well, the ratings are down. Yeah, and they just struck. I'm not defending AEW, but I'm saying, like, what did people expect Kenny Omega to say? And listen, Sean Ross Sapp, I thought about this. Should he have followed up with would have come across as the gotcha question? I don't think you do. I think you sit there and you're like, wow, I can't believe he just said that. You know, I mean, because think about it. If you start elaborating on Kenny Omega's answer, he starts throwing out TV deals and, you know, going on streaming and all this other stuff that's on the horizon. You know, really all you got is the ratings are down a little bit. And attendance is down, obviously, too. But, you know, what are you going to do? Like, Kenny, what are you, crazy? How could you say something like that? That's kind of, you kind of, as a interviewer, you got to let the person put it out there. And then it's up to the audience out there to be like, oh, I can't believe Kenny Omega actually thinks that. I don't think he thinks that. I think, what is he supposed to say? So I don't have an issue with it. And honestly, him returning in Japan, I almost compare it to like somebody who was on a baseball team and out injured, and they come back and they play in AAA for a few games before they go back to the main roster. That's how I see it. I don't think it's a big deal. Kenny Omega doing something in Japan right now, there's no storyline for him on the TV. Imagine, think about this. Not going to say any podcasting names, but think about this. If Kenny Omega is ready to return and he wants to have a match, and Tony Khan says, no. Come back. We'll give you a match on Dynamite. You choose whoever you want to face. Don't go to Japan. You know, we'll have you. Everybody would have ripped the shit out of AEW for saying, like, the fuck can you bring back Kenny Omega with that storyline? You just fucking threw him in a fucking match. It made nothing. It doesn't make sense. Why would you do something like that? Kenny Omega is not involved in anything, right? The Young Bucks are off TV right now. So how do you bring Kenny Omega back to TV? You're going to probably have to build it for weeks to make it make sense. So doing it in Japan, in my honest opinion, was the right way to go. All right. We are at 90 minutes. Yes. 90 minutes after we started late. I got it. But hey, I fixed it. Give me that. That was not fun. I was really concerned. Listen, if we would have had to take Sunday off, I would have been fine with that, even though I don't like doing that. But my concern was, holy shit, is it going to work Tuesday on Patreon? What if this doesn't fix by next week? You know, so for some reason, doing a system restore, everything was working again. And you know what that tells me? The connection had nothing to do with it. And the video card had nothing to do with it. It had to do with Microsoft Edge. So when you hear anybody else having the same buffering problem trying to stream live on YouTube, if they uninstalled something very recently, it could have somehow altered a setting or altered the firewall that is somehow interfering with your video transmitting in your computer to YouTube. That's what I think happened. So, Bobby Means, congratulations, 15 months being a made member of the family. And also got a shout out, OTS Tribal Queen. I saw it at the very beginning of the show. She is a member now with us. I don't know for how long, it doesn't say to me, but it is her anniversary, so I want to shout her out too. I should have done it at the beginning of the show, but obviously things were kind of fucked up earlier. So, but Bobby Means, what's up? Happy 15 months to you. Who do I see winning the Women's Royal Rumble? He's going with Io Sky. You know, I was asked this on Patreon last week, and unfortunately I got to give the same answer. I honestly cannot pick a winner on the men's side or the women's side right now. The problem is we don't know who the women's champions are going to be leading into Mania. A good example, and I'll get to your answer in a minute. I actually could come up with one. I think of CM Punk. CM Punk not taking on Gunther at Survivor Series is now making me think that Gunther may take on CM Punk at the Royal Rumble. And although a match I want to see, What does that also do? That takes CM Punk out of the 30-man over-the-top battle royal. CM Punk was one of my original picks to win it in 2025. Now there's a good chance he won't even be in that match. As of right now, I almost feel like Rhea Ripley, by default, could win it. I don't think Becky Lynch should come back and win it unexpectedly, because I think even though we would be happy to see her back, I think people would be like, holy shit, she comes back and she gets the WrestleMania match. Could you imagine if Charlotte Flair did that? People would be having aneurysms. So I almost feel Rhea Ripley could be the odds-on favorite right now, because even though Rhea Ripley, we have been a little bit disappointed with the way she's been used, she is still insanely over with that main roster crowd. And if she won the Royal Rumble, I don't think fans would boo it. I mean, there would be some noise online, but early on, I kind of go with Rhea Ripley. But again, we don't know who the champions are. Could be somebody in NXT right now. Could be somebody in NXT who's going to be called up. Ramson says it might be safe to keep Punk away from the Rumble match. Well, not necessarily, because the Rumble match is easier to do compared to one-on-ones. I think Punk would probably have a much easier time in a Rumble match compared to fighting Gunther one-on-one. But you know what? Punk has had some matches since coming back from injury, and he's done good. He's done good. Now, we got to figure out what he's going to do at Survivor Series. You know, I pitched that idea a couple of days ago that I'm still surprised nobody has caught on to it. But, you know, obviously it's not going to happen on this Monday's Raw. And then next Monday is the go-home to Survivor Series. So you almost feel like something may have to happen on SmackDown if there's any chance of what I came up with could happen. So as much as I like Jordan Grace and Zarya, I don't think the WWE Universe in droves would pop like that. Maybe for Jordan Grace, and it would depend on who she eliminates last. If there is a big time heel like a Nia Jax, comes down to Nia Jax and Jordan Grace eliminates Nia Jax, I think the crowd would pop big. They're not household names yet. Jordan Grace has been around for a while, and she'll do just fine. But I think, that's why it's a little too soon to be picking winners. Listen, Charlotte Flair returns. I recommend some of you out there that still don't realize it, go back to 2023, look at Charlotte Flair's win-loss record. It'll shock you. It'll shock you. I think at one point Charlotte Flair had 20 losses in a row. Charlotte Flair lost so many matches in 2023, it'll blow your mind. And then you'll look at it, you'll be like, yeah, a lot of it's house shows. I get it. But even main TV shows, you'll look at it, you'll be like, how did she lose this many matches? You'll be surprised. I don't know if I want to see Alexa Bliss come back and win the Royal Rumble all in one shot. I would love to see Alexa Bliss back on TV, but do I want to see her challenging for the Women's World Championship? I don't know if I really want to see that. Dar is asking, do I think AEW should have a brand split with Dynamite and Collision? No. No. And I'll tell you why. They can't even create an identity for Ring of Honor. The problem that you have is if you create a roster split and Dynamite needs a little bit of a boost, you're not going to resist, and you're going to take people that are supposed to be only on Collision and you're going to put them on Dynamite, or vice versa. AEW doesn't have enough viewership that you could turn around and start making brand splits, because if something is hemorrhaging, you do not want to start getting into that habit that, let's trade somebody. You look at how that went down with Jake Roberts and Don Callis. Oh my God, managers having trades. We haven't seen that since the Heenan days. And that's been god awful. You don't want to do that. They can't create an identity for Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor people are on AEW Dynamite. Ring of Honor people are on Collision. Collision people are on Dynamite. Collision people are on Ring of Honor, back and forth. It's just, there are some people who are mostly in Ring of Honor, but it has no identity. The last thing you want to do is try to create two more identities when you can't even get Ring of Honor cleared away. And Ring of Honor should have been easy. Easy. You just figure out the names that just don't cut it on, for primetime Dynamite. And if you want to give someone a bone once in a blue moon on a Rampage or a Collision, okay. But you put them in Ring of Honor, and they stay there. Look at Jericho. Jericho, they put the title on him again because they're trying to get a TV deal. We talked about that the night he won it. If that TV deal falls through, Jericho will lose the belt the following week or within 2 weeks. Jericho should only be on Ring of Honor right now, but they put him on all the other shows too. Shout out to Vincent Ricci. Am I watching Yellowstone? Unfortunately, no. My wife is watching, but I'm not. Just had no interest in seeing it, to be honest with you. All right. Let's see. We'll bring this home in like 15 minutes. We'll finish right around 2 hours. Theme parks with Johnny. No, I didn't miss you. I see it. Happy 34 months to you, my friend. The Nitro girls were nice. Great to hype up the crowd, but he blames Russo and WCW for hiring him as a diehard WCW fan. I like the Nitro girls. It was very unique at the time. Spice is my all-time favorite Nitro girl. I laughed when they incorporated some of them with the wrestlers. It kind of jumped the shark when they had Spice with Medusa. Kimberly Page, I give her a lot of credit, man. She did a lot of great choreographing with those Nitro girls, but I think, as far as Russo, again, he should have been brought in. It's WCW's fault. You brought in the wrong person, especially at your new standards and practices. Listen, it's easy for us to say this now, 23 years later, but in hindsight, Vince Russo should never have been brought in there. Wouldn't have been allowed to do what he did in WWE. Plain and simple. Kevin Milwaukee, what's up, Kevin? Thank you very much, my friend, for that super shout out. Who is Lee Fitting? Who is Lee Fitting, the executive producer of Raw? Do a Google search. The name sounds fake. You're not the first person that I've heard say that. But if you do a little research, you'll actually find the answer. Listen, it's an odd name to make up, as far as the show goes. I will tell you this. If you're going to make fictitious names for producers at the end of the show, you wouldn't just settle with one. You would do a whole montage of names. But yeah, I mean, the name sounds fake, but if you look it up, there's actually info online about it. If Lee Fitting is taking Kevin Dunn's place, why did Kevin Dunn never have his name plastered at the bottom of the screen? This probably wasn't Vince McMahon's idea. Maybe Vince didn't want producers' names out there. Maybe Vince didn't want it to come across, everybody's different. Kevin Dunn may have wanted that idea and Vince maybe nixed it. We don't know. I don't have any issue with executive producer at the end of the show because we know Shawn Michaels is doing that on NXT. And you know what? It's pretty cool to see that Triple H is heading this up, So I don't think it's a big deal. It really isn't. We saw that back in the days. I think WCW had that. I even think at one point, pretty sure AWA had that. Not every promotion does that. Not every promotion makes it seem like a choreographed program. I don't have any issue with it. It's not a big deal, in my opinion. But we don't know whose decision it was to not do that at the time. Benjamin, I didn't think it was a big deal when Swerve Strickland said Stamford or Bridgeport, Connecticut. People making a big deal out of it. It wasn't like it wasn't like when Jericho would intentionally get towns wrong, and whether Swerve Strickland meant it or if it was just an accident. You know what I mean? Like, is it a big deal? I didn't think it was a big deal. Vincent, I just talked about Kenny Omega and New Japan about 15 minutes ago. Got into it in detail, actually. Yeah, if Lee Fitting became an on-air character, you could do a talk segment called The Fitting Room. I get it. There's a lot of funny ones you could come up with, but the interesting thing is that it's only two names. You would think that there should be some additional names there because they do have more people in the creative. But, that's what they do. All right. Nero Faye, what's up, Redeem? Thank you for the 15 spot. Wanted to share some love. Hard times where he is in Israel. He just wants their hostages back home already. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Brian, I'll get to you in a minute. Listen, I try to keep politics off this show unless it's absolutely necessary or it's a big news item. I watch what's going on TV. It's pretty bizarre to see that, listen, this election with Trump has been very interesting, might be the right word to go. You would think, why would foreign leaders listen to him? I always thought, even though I didn't vote for him or Harris this election, I always thought that sometimes when you are a little bit unhinged, that intimidates people. Wow. Biden wouldn't have the balls blow us up. Trump don't give a fuck. Trump didn't even give a shit about January 6th. He'll fucking blow us up if we don't do the right thing. That's kind of how I feel like some people perceive him to be. I'm too young to remember much when Reagan became president. What I do remember, and yes, I've watched footage afterwards, is that in 1980, when he won the election, and as soon as he was put in power, soon as he was, put in as president, the hostages came home. It was crazy. This literally the same day that he was being sworn in as president, the hostages were on a plate. So I'm hoping similar happens here. I'm hoping that peace negotiations start up. It's the only thing I could say. Shit's going to be going down. And hopefully it'll be on the peace side. And I think that'll happen. I really do. I was shocked at how many people in the Muslim community voted for Trump. I was shocked to see how many people, in the Latino community, the African-American community, women. Whether you like him or not, I truthfully believe that the reason why all these news outlets are losing viewers in droves and some big social media influencers losing people in droves is because the people out there trusted the media and trusted certain YouTubers that what they were telling them were facts, not emotion. Yes, they had emotional reaction to facts, but they believed what they were being told. And they started figuring out that a lot of this was grossly exaggerated because they didn't like somebody. And, you know, when you keep lying to people, after a while, they get fed up with it. That's why you kind of see what's going on right now. So I think we will see positive come out of this near. You know, hopefully we don't have to wait till January for that to happen, but, you know, we'll see. We will see. Brian with a little movie question. Was I a fan of the movies Breakin' and Breakin' 2? A little bit. I think Breakin' 2 was Electric Boogaloo, if I remember correctly. I can't remember the other breakdancing movie that came out at that time. I think it was Breakin', because Curtis Blow was his music was in there. Yeah, I think it was Breakin'. Yeah, it is. There's no stopping us, no stopping. No one does it better. I got so sick of that song when that song came out. It was all right. It was okay. I mean, you know, it felt kind of corny, but, you know, I was a fat teenage white Italian guy at the time. So, you know, anything that I was doing was just as corny, if not worse. So, yeah, Crush Groove. I liked the song when that came out. Yeah, they were okay. I mean, the thing is in the mid-'80s, a lot of breakdance movies came out. A lot. And then some people tried to add like these really, really deep storylines with it. And it got a little strange after a while. I loved hip hop music at the time, loved rap music, house music, techno, later on hip house in late 80s. But I was a fan of all of that at the time. I even liked the movie that the Fat Boys were in. Everybody remember the Fat Boys? I used to impersonate them. I mean, I can't do it anymore. I used to do the human beatbox, and I would sit there and you lick your lips and you go. I can't do it anymore, but I used to do all of that stuff. So those were good times, man. Breakdancing on cardboard boxes in front of people's houses. Let me tell you something. I'm revealing my age here, but no joke. One of the coolest things that you could come across is if someone bought a refrigerator and they put the box out for the sanitation to pick up. If you were in the mid-'80s at the time and you hung outside with a boom box, that's why I still have my boom boxes. I have my boom boxes more for, you know, nostalgia and for sentimental reasons. My wife keeps saying, put it on eBay. You could get I have one boombox that's worth right now about $3,000. I got a Sharp 777, I think it is, boombox. And it's like almost perfect condition. And it still works. I've shown videos of me blasting it. Back then, if you could get your hands on like a refrigerator box and you cut that shit open, you lay it on the floor, oh my God. Amazing stuff, man. I even looked halfway decent at the time. Machiavelli says he likes Ice Cubes. Check yourself. See, I could prove that I was into that song too, because you didn't say nothing else, and I use that phrase still to this day. You better check yourself before you wreck yourself. Speaking of wrecking themselves, Kevin and I have noticed it. Have you noticed few people in the wrestling media world, and I'm not talking about Cornette, or Kevin Nash. I'm talking about the lower card people, most never wrestled before. Have you noticed how unhinged they have become from this election? Like every day I see like this bizarre like yelling on their Twitter accounts, and I'm like, the fuck happened to you? I don't want to start getting a little more specific because then you'll figure out who I'm talking about, and I don't want them to know that I know, but Kevin and I have had some private conversations, and we were like, do you see what so-and-so wrote today? He's like, yeah, oh my God, the fuck happened to that person? I totally lost it. Now this thing now is, oh, I'm going to log into Blue Sky. And that'll fuck Elon Musk. The funny thing about it is they're using Twitter to let people know that they're on Blue Sky. That's the funniest thing about it. It's like, fuck you, Twitter. I'm going to Blue Sky, but I'm going to show it on my Twitter profile so everybody, so everybody knows I signed up there. They think they're making a statement. Like Elon, I don't like Elon Musk. I want to make that clear. I'm not a big fan of him. The engagement farming has ruined Twitter for me. But, I'll say this, for all these people that think like they're giving a big fuck you to Elon Musk because they sign up on Blue Sky, you know what the problem is, guys? You know what the problem is? You watch. I will not be wrong. I guarantee you I will not be wrong. A lot of these people that are signing up on Blue Sky, from wrestlers to journalists to podcasts and all that, it's going to be a very lonely area there. They could have 10, 15, 20 people responding to their shit, and they're going to be like crackheads in withdrawal. I need my hundreds. I need to click on in the morning and see I got 100 likes. I need to feel bigger. I need to feel more important and wanted. And then suddenly they'll be like, I'm back. Did you miss me? You watch. They're all going to gradually come back because they need that feeling that they're part of something. Tristan wants to know, what did I think of the Yeti's debut? The Yeti. Thought it was stupid. I've seen the clip so many times over the years. There was a lot of dumb shit at that time. There was a lot of dumb gimmicks at that time. And there's been numerous mummies in wrestling over the years. Yeti was stupid. Thank God it was not a long-term character in wrestling. So we're at an hour and 53 minutes. So we will go 5 more and make it 2 hours even. And again, I want to thank each and every one of you for who stuck around. Very frustrating earlier, but as you could see, we have not had one technical issue after I did that restore. I'm going to have to do some research on my other computer as to why I can't get rid of Microsoft Edge. I'm telling you, it's like the mafia. You can't get rid of us. It's like NWO for life. Microsoft Edge in my computer right now. Oh, yeah, you want to uninstall me, motherfucker? Watch what I do. Watch next week. Edge for life. By the way, Edge will be back soon. Adam Copeland will be back soon. Actually was talking to somebody who heard that Adam Copeland's been working out quite a bit. So, Rainbow, we talked about Jake Paul and Mike Tyson at the beginning of the show for like 15 minutes. I enjoyed it. I didn't bet on it. I feel bad for people who did bet on it. If you bet on Jake Paul, and obviously you don't need my pity. I just wish that it was pushed more as an exhibition because both guys held back. But the fact that Mike Tyson did not look embarrassing was cool. I was a huge fan of Mike Tyson growing up. And I was trying to convince myself at the time that he was not this big abuser. When we saw that video with Robin Givens, that time when he was, 2020? That was strange. And then when he got arrested, accused of assault, you know, you look back on it and you kind of think of like, you know, it's not the Diddy parties, but you realize that it's just like entertainment, musicians, athletes, wrestling back at that time. You had, you know, in many cases, rats. You had rats waiting for you to basically let you do whatever you want with them. Once in a while, you would have a fan that was not trying to be a rat. And I do not believe that that woman wanted to sleep with Mike Tyson. I really, you know, looking back on that case, I wanted to convince myself that he was set up. But even me being a huge Tyson fan at the time, I truly believed that, you know, he kind of had his way. And, you know, I'm very happy after all these years that Mike Tyson turned out to be the person that he is. It was not that long ago where he would do these, and some of you may remember, it might have even been Megyn Kelly. He did an interview on Fox News several years, or was it Greta? I don't remember who he did it with, but this was maybe like 15 years ago, and it was bizarre. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on with this guy? Then all of a sudden, he like changed. He turned into like this really, really nice guy. I mean, you still don't mess with him, but I'm very happy to see how he turned out. Yeah, he looks 50. Well, he doesn't look 58. Yeah, you look at that. This is not. He looked great for 58. Yeah, I'm not that far away, guys. I'm not that far away. The only thing that kind of like I still have, and yeah, I'm wearing a hat, but I still got my hair. But I just wish it would have been more than just an exhibition. So, all right, 2 more minutes. We are going to Jet. 316 says the internet wrestling community on Twitter is worse. He's getting threats and harassment because he's pro-live and dom. Listen, if you're getting threats and harassment because you support wrestlers, you don't need those people. Seriously. I can see if you said you support Trump or, you're anti-Trump and you're getting it, but, Dominic Mysterio is one of the top stars in WWE right now. He gets a reaction. He works his ass off. He respects wrestling. He loves wrestling. He interacts great with his fans when the cameras really are not focused. Dominic Mysterio is good for wrestling. Liv Morgan is playing off of that character. If you're getting harassment for supporting them, you don't need those people, man. Who should Adam Copeland target on his return? Your guess is as good as mine. There's so many ways they can go. I mean, for all we know, he could get right in there with Moxley. He could go back with Christian. He could go against Hangman. There's so many different scenarios. You really can't. You can't. Listen, I'm not saying this to throw a dig at AEW, but we can't think the way that we have over the years with WWE logic. Because one thing that is a fact is AEW many times book for their entertainment. Some of the people that they feature on TV that have no business being on TV, they're on TV because they want them on TV, not because the fans do. Again, you look at some of the people that Moxley's interacting with right now. When someone is that low on the food chain, you don't elevate them to primetime TV, even if they're getting the shit knocked out of them. So sometimes you can't use AEW's logic. So, all right, guys, we're at 2 hours. I'm going to jet. Again, I want to thank each and every one of you who stuck around tonight, even if you joined me late, and for everyone that's on the replay as well. Amazing to see still about 400 of you live with me tonight, sticking around. So, I'm not fucking with my computer. I'm leaving everything the way it is, so we have no issues next week. Kevin and I will be live on Monday night at 10:15 p.m. Remember, Raw is taped. So most of us already know spoilers. I'm going to still watch just to see how it plays out on TV, but I will tell you, if you do read the spoilers, you might be more inclined to say, you know what? If I have something else to do Monday night, you probably could get away with skipping it, and you won't really be missing much of anything. You'll read the spoilers, you'll know what's going on, you'll know where things are going, and, it's kind of one of those episodes the way I feel right now. Like, if I missed it entirely and just read the spoilers, I probably would not be missing all that much. So, but Tuesday I'll be live on Patreon. And take note, everyone, I posted it in the last two news updates. We tweaked the schedule going forward as far as the shows go every day. So just check out the news updates. You'll see the schedule. Every day something is online. We don't skip any days anymore, but the news updates are going to be strategic, a couple of days a week, because DTKC Show already covers news. We cover news on Sundays where needed. And, that leaves us a couple of other days. And also, news is very, very light after a Wednesday night. Other than Dynamite results, Wednesday nights are usually extremely light when it comes to news. Saturday nights are extremely light when it comes to news. Usually anything big news breaking happens Friday and it bleeds into Saturday. Sunday during the day is almost nothing. So go check it out, and I'm out of here. So everyone, I'll catch you all again Monday night after Raw. DTKCDiscord.com. We'll be in our Discord channel, and hope you could join us. So be well, everyone. Have a good one. Much love.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.